Hola muchachos, esta tarde vamos a hablar de los mandatos negativos con tú. Okay, so tonight we're going to work on mandatos negativos con tú. You've already learned affirmative commands with tú or informal affirmative commands. This is just the negative version. So I've given you some examples on this screen of infinitives, affirmative commands, and then their negative commands. See if you can figure out what the negative command of comer would be using tú, and see if you can figure out what the affirmative and negative commands of both pagar and llegar would be. If you are having trouble, that's okay. Struggle through it. Give it a try. So I'll walk you through the first one. Hablar is the infinitive. Our affirmative command. Remember, we take the third person singular, or you can think of it as taking the tú form and dropping the s off to make the affirmative command. Habla, and the negative command is no hables. Remember that ER and IRs follow similar rules or the same rules. So in that spirit, let's have a look at vivir, and that should be able to tell you something about comer. Uh, the affirmative command of vivir is vive. The negative command, which is a strange one that hopefully you never have to use, no vivas. Um, Perhaps you would use that in some horror movie to refer to some horrible beast that you don't want to live, but there we go. Uh, Try the same thing with pagar. See if you can make the affirmative command and the negative command on your sheet of paper and start preparing that for tomorrow. I will expect to see those at our next class. Okay, so you can pause and complete the commands that I asked you to do. Okay, so now that you've tried, let's see I'm going to walk you through how to make negative commands like the ones you just tried on the last page and the ones you saw. It's pretty basic. There are really just three steps. Take the yo form of the verb in the present, como, for example. Take off the o at the end and add the opposite tu ending. So if your verb is an AR verb, you're going to add es, es. If your verb is an ER or IR verb, you're going to add as. So with comer, for example, which is an ER verb, the yo form is como. We take off the o and we add as. So we get comas. Now you just have to add no before because this is a negative command. After all, we're saying don't do this. No comas. In this case, I'm going to say no comas los dulces. Probably you may say to someone no comas, don't eat, but you're probably going to add something afterwards to make your command make sense. Ojo, cuidado. God, cad, sad verbs require the following changes. So if you have a God verb like llegar, you're going to have to add a you, no llegues. If you have a cad verb like tocar, you're going to have to add a you, a QU, no toques. And finally, if you have a sad verb, you're going to have to add a C, and you're going to have, for example, comenzar, no comiences. Okay? This should look familiar to you because it's very similar to what happens with the yo form of these verbs in the preterite. But remember, no accents here. We're just adding the opposite to ending every time. So again, God, add you, God, QU, sad verbs, C. Notice that in comiences, the stem change still applied. We just took the yo form, comienzo, and we took off, in this case, the Z and the O and added our ending. Be careful with yo forms. Sometimes they always determine the form of the negative tu command. So sometimes we have yo forms that you may have forgotten or are somewhat irregular, and they apply. They change the negative tu command. So if we have yo construyo, the negative tu command is going to be no construyas. Yo elijo has a J in it, so we keep the J in the negative command, no elijas. Yo traigo, any go verb ends in go. We're going to keep that G when we make the negative command, and we get no traigas. Remember that traer is just an ER verb, so the opposite ending is as. And the verb ofrecer, for example, or conducir end in sco. So we get yo ofrezco. We could also have with conducir, no, yo conduzco. And the no command is, or the negative command is, no ofrezcas, no conduzcas. We have to keep that sk sound and then add the opposite ending. Okay, so now we're going to make negative two commands. It's your turn to make a few from the first slide again, and I've added a few in here. On the left, you have the verbs I'd like you to work with: hablar, comer, recoger, abrir, and I've added la puerta to make that one a little more logical. Aburrir, pagar, empezar, and tocar. Okay? If you can't remember offhand how to form these commands, there's a little reminder on the right. Remember, take the yo form and use the opposite tu ending. So if it's an AR verb, you take off the O on the end of the yo form and add es or es. If it's an ER-IR verb, you're going to take that yo form, drop off the O, and add as. Careful with unusual yo endings like go verbs or elijo, for example, that we talked about. And watch your calzados. Okay, so remember, yes, case, seis. Go ahead and pause this and give it a try. This is the second exercise that you'll need to bring to class. Okay, there are, unfortunately for us, 5 irregular negative commands that we need to memorize. We already talked about the affirmative one. Remember, um, Faisal dives in the 10 tons of Benhas. We talked about that to learn our affirmative commands. There's no acronym that I know of for the negative ones, but here they are. So, dar, the affirmative command is da, the negative command is no des. Estar, the mandato afirmativo is estar, and the mandato negativo is no estés. Ir, the afirmativo is ve, and the negativo no vayas. Saber, the affirmative is sabe, and the mandato negativo is no sepas. And finally, ser, we have for the affirmative se, and the negative no seas. Now I would like you to complete the following chart with informal tu commands. See if you can give me the yo forma verse of each verb in the first column, the mandato afirmativo in the second column, and the mandato negativo, sorry, that should be negativo, not negative, in the third column, okay? So, I'm going to let you try these. This is your third exercise. You need to bring it to class tomorrow. Remember the rules. The basic rules are really simple. Take the yo form, drop off the O, add the opposite ending, and be careful of your gargarsat. Watch out for irse, it's reflexive. Now, using the symbol given in each of the following pictures, write a negative command for each situation. You may have to look up an appropriate verb here and there, and in some cases, I've given you the verb. So I'm going to go through these, pause after each one, and write in your commands in the space given or on your separate sheet of paper, depending on whether you have a window open with this PowerPoint. And the verb is dar de comer. So make your negative command. Cool. Okay, and this one, you need to figure out what verb you want to use. Here again, figure out what verbs you'd like to use. You should use more than one. Go ahead and pause. Again, what would be the best verb for this one? Cross, the hint. Okay, and here, this is our last slide. I've given you 2 verbs to work with. Conducir and textear. See if you can make your negative 2 commands based on the sign. Bueno, eso es todo, amigos. Muchas gracias. Que tengan una buena noche. And I will see you in class tomorrow. Make sure that you have the 4 exercises on your separate sheet of paper or that you have your PowerPoint filled out. And we'll have a look at this.